So, today we're going to talk about finding the sum of n terms of an arithmetic series, okay? And I have a story. This guy's name was Gauss, and he's a really big mathematician. You guys have looked up his IQ, and it was off the charts. Well, when he was in school, his teacher had a hard time with him. She used to call him lazy, he didn't want to work. It was probably because she was doing stuff that wasn't very relevant to him because he was so beyond that. But one day she was so upset with him that she said, go to the corner and add the numbers between 1 and 100, meaning 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4, all the way to 100, okay? And little Gauss, being the genius he was, he said, well, that's easy. It's 5,050. And she got furious. What do you mean it's 5,050? Go in the corner and add the numbers between 1 and 100. Because all she wanted was some peace and quiet, okay? And he goes, no, it's 5,050. She goes, well, how do you figure that? And in his mind, what he did was he put 100 and counted backwards, 99, 98, 97, all the way to 1, right? And in his mind, he said, well, all of these columns add up to 101, right? They all add up to 101. And we have 100 columns, because there's 100 numbers you're adding, right? So he said, well, 100 times 101 is 10,100, okay? But he said, but you only need half of them, because I double stacked them. So he divides that by 2, and he got 5,050. Well, what he was doing was the formula, the second formula on your sheet. How many numbers are you adding? How many different numbers are there from 1 to 100? 100. So that's n over 2 times a1 plus an. Let's look at this. N is 100 over 2. a1 is 1, and an is 100. Got it? That's 50 times 101, which is 5,050. The sum of the first n terms of a series is n over 2 times a1 plus an, and that's the formula on your sheet. So in order to find the sum, you need n, a1, and an. Well, if they give you those three, like in number 1 and 2, you just plug them in the calculator. You see it? Like on number 1 and just number 1. You see number 1, they gave you a1 is 16, an is 98, and n is 13. You just plug them in. So that's easy. We're not going to do that one. But let's look at number 2. Number 2, it says a1 is 13, d is negative 6, and n is 21. Well, we have n, which is 21. We have a1, which is 13. But we need to find an, okay? And d is just a vehicle to get there. Well, how would I find an? And what formula can I use to find an?
Add 13, you give 6 13 1 times.
Huh?
Well, n is the number of terms, so and 13 is the first term, so you simply add 6.
So you just follow that other formula. An equals a1 plus, this is what we did yesterday, right? Negative 6 and 21 minus 1. So you put that in your calculator and you tell me what an is. Go ahead. So we find that an is negative 107. That's all we needed the d for. The d was just used to find the an, what we were missing. So when you're finding something, list all the things you need and then get them. You have to go find them somehow using the formulas you have. And when we're doing this, you can use the formulas I gave you and anything above them, because we haven't covered the other ones below them, so don't even worry about those formulas, okay? So now we're going to put it in the formula. We have 21 over 2, and then we have a1, which is 13, plus negative 107. Go ahead and put that in your calculators. So we get that the sum is negative 987, and that's the answer to that question. So you know how to do those now, right? Sometimes they're easy, sometimes you have to go a little bit further. Now let's go to the next one. Okay, in this series, can you tell me any of the things on the right there? Can you tell me n, a1, or an?
A1 is 5.
A1 is 5.
N is, no, just
All right, if we're going to add the D, D is 2, okay.
And
What about AN?
27.
Very good. AN is the last term, okay? You're going to add all those up. Now you can sit there with your calculator and keep adding 2 until you get to 27 and add all those up manually, but you don't want to do that, right? We've got to find N. So to find N, we're going to use that D that he found because we're adding 2 each time. And we have AN equals A1 plus D times N minus 1, right? Well, we know AN is 27. We know A1 is 5. And we know D is 2. Can't we find N?
Yeah.
So let's let the math take you there. You've got 27 minus 5 is 22 equals 2 times N minus 1. You can FOIL in the 2 or divide both sides by 2, and you get 11 equals N minus 1, so N equals 12. Now you have everything you need to find S of N. So we're going to cross out the D. We don't need him, but we have 12 over 2 times 5 plus 27. That's 6 times 32 equals S of N. So what is S of N? S of N is 192. So we found it. Took a little bit, but we found it, right? This is sigma notation. Does anybody know what sigma means? It means sum. Well, guess what? We're finding the sum of a series. So this is just finding the sum in sigma notation, okay? So for this, we need all the same things we need because the formula is still the same. We just have to figure out how to find it. Now, to find N, you take the top guy minus the bottom guy and add 1. Don't forget to add 1. So that would be 8 minus 3 plus 1, which would be 6. And let me explain. What this is saying is we're going to be plugging in a 3, a 4, a 5, a 6, a 7, and an 8. Isn't that 6 things we're plugging in? The reason you have to add 1 is kind of like the fence post rule. If you're going to buy fencing at Home Depot, you buy the middle sections and you buy the posts. You always need one more post than middle section because you need that last post to hold it up at the end, right? And that's why you're adding the 1, because you're counting the 3 and the 8. If you just subtract the 2 and you get 5, you're not counting the 3 and the 8. You're just counting one or the other, okay? So that's why you add the 1. So just remember that. Top minus bottom plus 1. That's to find your N. Okay? So we found N. A1, easy. A1, you plug in the bottom number. So what's the bottom number on that? 3. What's 5 times 3?
15.
Minus 10?
5.
Found A1. Got it? What do you think you do to find AN?
I'm plugging the top number.
Plug in the top number. Let's change colors here. AN, plug in top number. Okay? So, what is 8 times 5?
40.
Minus 10? Now we're ready to put it in the formula, right?
Yeah.
So now we can find the sum. We have everybody we need. We have 6 over 2 times 5 plus 30. So it's 3 times 35, which is 105, and that is the sum.